Hello, my name is Dylan Murphy, and this is the All Ireland podcast. With me, I have Paul from Running Red. So, thanks very much for joining me today, Paul.
Thanks for having me, Dylan. How you keeping?
I actually didn't get to ask you this. Where are you from?
I am from Derry originally. It is my home for like the last 30 years or so. So I should be saying Dublin at this stage.
Do you live in Dublin now, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I suppose just to get started, Running Red, what's the kind of story behind the band? If you had to describe your music to someone who hadn't heard it already, how would you kind of go about describing it?
Well, our music started out, the band's about 3 years old, so our music started out as a two-piece, and it was acoustic, drums, and a bit of synth, into adding more electric guitar, more synths, and we've developed our sound more so where it's just developed into kind of electro indie rock.
Yeah.
With it's atmospheric rock as well, but we always have an eye on the commerciality of songs, so we're aware of that. But like our last two singles and one of the new singles we have coming out, hopefully by the end of June, we'll have more synth-based production. So
that's so definitely a blend of a lot of different kind of things. But you've been while there's a lot of a rock influence, you've been trying to introduce more of the synth over time. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it always helps. Like I never liked synth, say about 10 years ago when I started playing in bands, like when I was 14, and then 10 years ago started developing it more and getting used to it and really appreciating it in terms of production, how it can fill out the sound. Just different layers can come in and out. It's works a lot with a bass synth, and especially for a live show. So I really appreciate it now. And as a band, it's really helped in our sound as well, especially live.
How did the band get started? How did you meet all the others, and where are you all from, and what's the whole story behind actually forming the group, I suppose?
Yeah, we're a bit not all over the place. We're all Irish based. I started the band with another musician called Neil, and that was then at that, and then we got Shane in, who's our guitarist, and we started doing launch gigs. This was about 2 years ago. Put out our first EP, and we met through online messages and things like that, and sometimes by coincidence, just by connecting certain people and using people, just simple things like that kind of happen naturally. And Shane at the time was in BIM in Dublin, so he got in touch with a bassist there, and that developed on from that. And then recently we have our newest member called Luke, who is one of Shane's childhood friends. So he's our new singer.
Okay.
So if we have new live videos up, so if you see the new live videos, we're going in a different direction again, because Luke's voice is a little bit different than the original singer.
Yeah.
So that's exciting for us. And yeah, it's just happened. Mutual acquaintances, a bit of online action, things like that. Just knowing people in the industry, we've just all kind of come together naturally.
Can you describe in more detail? You said you're bringing out some new tracks. Is it an album you're bringing out soon, or is it
we have 2 singles in the works.
Okay.
So literally we had them, they would have been finished by now if it was normal circumstances, but everything kind of got locked down, so we had to put a pause on it. But we'll have 2 singles like then this summer.
Okay. Can you tell us a bit about them?
Yeah, well, the first one was recorded with Fine Training Productions in Temple Bar, and we've done a lot of work with them over the years. Great guys in there, great shooters, they're really qualified students, and they're all into production and making the best quality product. So we've been working with them extensively, say for the last year or so. So that single is being mixed right now, called Take Me There. So hopefully I think within 2 weeks we should have that one done, and then we have to look at, do we want to do a video, do we want to do a bit of a plan, a sort of launch show down the line, or do we just put it out? And then the other single is called The Lear Street, and that should be out hopefully by the end of June, as I was saying.
And do you think that we got
the guts of that recorded at the start of March? Sorry, something just broke up there.
Yeah, no, sorry. What were you saying there?
Sorry, so we got the guts of that other song recorded at the start of March, but we couldn't finish guitars or vocals. So that's the next thing we do. So hopefully now from, was it June 8th, I think, is the next sort of phase of things. We'll be able to get those wrapped up nicely.
Okay, so very nice. And do you think the process is going to be much different? In terms of the business side of things, let's say, do you think that's going to be impacted much by the whole lockdown?
It depends, initially, yes, yeah, definitely. Especially some of the studios we worked in where you're quite close knit on the recording production side of it. Maybe you could have a producer in there and one band member recording their parts or mixing with the producer or something like that. You could work out something and still socially distance.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of recording a band and having people in, it's the air, like until there's a vaccine and things like that, it's hard to know. And then you're looking at the live side of it, which is a whole minefield at the minute and a whole world of what to do and what not to do. So yeah, it will change. We are fortunate as a band that we have our own studio space in Dublin City Centre. So I think after June 8th and maybe coming into the start of July, we'll look at getting back in together.
Okay.
See how that goes initially, and maybe we'll start doing some live videos from our studio base and start and producing ourselves from there if we have to. So we're fortunate in that sense, but I think it will change quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned doing a music video. Do you have any particular ideas for how that might work given the circumstances?
Well, I've seen a lot of people doing lyric videos, which has always been a good move. If you don't have any initial video to get the single out, to do a lyric video, it's a good boost, and then do the proper video. So that's one option. But the only thing with that is it can become a bit saturated. Like everyone seems to be doing that at the minute. So it's thinking, how can you do it, but do it differently? We're looking at animation. We're looking at stop motion style videos, things like that, where you don't necessarily need to have the logistics involved or the crew involved, but you could still put together something very effective. So it's good though. It's like in the creative industry, it's good to have challenges,
Yeah.
It's good to try and think outside the box and go, okay, how can I record a music video with my phone? How can I record a music video with very basic, limited stuff? And that'll force you to be creative. So looking forward to getting the songs done, and then the ideas will start flowing after that.
So I suppose kind of sticking on roughly on the same kind of theme of challenges, is there any kind of standout moments to you ever since forming the band a few years ago that kind of stand out as challenges or kind of big moments, if you will, in terms of your career?
So far, I think our first headline show, and then we did a double headline show following that in Derry and Dublin. That was it was a challenge, but it was a great experience in terms of, okay, how do we promote this right to get the right numbers in?
Yeah.
How do we get the word out? Do we do a giveaway? Do we do a competition? Little things like that, I wouldn't say, they're not challenges in a negative sense.
Oh, yeah.
I would say, they've all been very positive. It's just all building blocks, it's stepping stones to the next level, especially in the music industry. There hasn't been too much. It's always just the challenge generally is keeping the momentum up as a band and keeping that drive and ambition there when things aren't coming in, or maybe you're not getting into the festivals you wanted, or you're not getting the radio play. That's a general challenge all around for all bands and acts. But if you can stick that out and then you get that one song that does hit, it's all worth it.
Do you think that's difficult too? And forgive me if I don't explain this correctly, but do you think it's difficult to kind of switch roles, as it were? You know what I mean? I've talked to a lot of other artists, and they kind of talked about, kind of it's a very different process, like recording or mixing a single and then going on and promoting it. It almost feels like you're wearing two different hats. Is that something that you'd agree with?
100%. You have to these days. You kind of have to have an all-round sense, even if it's like a small percentage of it, of the business side of it. You have to be heavy on that these days, and it's only beneficial, I think, as well, for every artist to be like that. So it is. You have to wear, I think, 10 different hats, even more. You know,
Okay.
you've got your PR, you've got your management, you've got your design and branding, you've got the basic level of recording and playing the song, writing the song. It all feeds in, though, is what I find. It all joins up at the end of the day. It's all creative, and if you do have a well-rounded sense of it, it will only help you. But yeah.
So I suppose kind of leading on from that, talk about your first single. Which was the first one to come out? Was it The Sirens?
Fade Away was the first single.
Fade Away.
It was off the same EP as The Sirens, and then we put out A Song for You, and then Sirens and See Where the Pressure Is were on the same EP. So they were the last two singles, sort of.
All right, okay. Well, to use Fade Away as an example, because that was the first one, how did it kind of feel releasing something in a professional sense for the first time? And like, how did it feel kind of doing that as a new process? Like, what do you think you learned from that whole experience?
From that whole experience was trust your instincts. When a song's good,
Yeah.
You know, go with it. Don't labor over it too much, and you know, don't overthink it in a sense. Like, if a song sounds great on acoustic guitar and vocals, you're doing well.
Okay.
So yeah, less is always more as well when it comes to recording and releasing songs, and it's just good to capitalize on a moment and get something out when you know it's good. So in terms of learning things, you know, we'd all been in different bands before then. We've released different projects and we've released different songs and there's that over the years. But with Fade Away and with Running Red in general, it was a more focused approach. We distilled things down and we're kind of like, okay, let's plan this out properly. Let's go step by step of what we need.
Yeah. So you kind
to
of
make an impact and to feel like we haven't left any stone unturned, you know, so we no regrets. Like, let's do our best on this, put it out, and then that's all we can do, you know. Hopefully it'll catch.
So you kind of seen releasing the EP, it's been like one project, if you will.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was all recorded at the same time as well and mastered at the same time. So
okay. So in terms of the music itself, you know, we kind of talked about the rock influence and the synth influence, but is there any bands or artists in particular that you kind of look to for inspiration? Is there any particular names that stick out in your mind?
There's a lot. I won't lie. There, like every artist and every band, like all four of us would have a lot of different influences, but we'd bring it together, you know, and we'd create the Running Red sound. So like it could range from like it could be as commercial as, like, you know, you could have Foo Fighters in there, you could have U2, you could have Peter Gabriel, you could Dave Matthews Band. There's endless influences, and then there's always new bands coming out. We're like, or like what they're doing there, like the Rawness, like Idols. A lot of Irish bands coming out here doing great stuff at the minute. You know, you kind of look to your peers and always try and take something and learn something from them as well.
And do you think that the different members of the band kind of have their own style and that, and how do you think that kind of comes together to form a whole?
I would say so, and I'd say that's what most bands, what they are, you know, and successful is that bringing together of different influences, but merging them together, taking a little bit from each to make a cohesive sound for the band. You know, for Running Red, say, you know, we've got influences from everything. Every member has different influences. Every member has different bands and artists they like. Yeah, it's getting in the room together, and then someone will have a riff or an idea and just developing that and going, okay, how is the sound? What is our sound? Where do you want to go with this? You know?
Yeah. Has there ever been any kind of creative differences or disagreements that have gotten in the way of the process, or are you fairly on the same page, as it were?
Sorry, you're just breaking up a tiny bit there.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was asking, has there ever been any creative differences or kind of disagreements in the band? or are you always kind of on the same page?
Generally, like, we are on the same page, which is a great thing. And having worked in other bands, sometimes that's not always the case. But
Yeah.
the key thing is you'd use it to your advantage. You know, a bit of conflict here and there can be a good thing in the creative atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a negative thing, but generally, yeah, we're on the same page. We go with the same style of music. We love our own music, you know, and we love what we create, and we love the bands that influence us. So we always bring that in. Like, the best thing songs that you'd want to listen to yourself. So creatively, we're on the same page.
Okay, and now forgive me, like this could be a difficult question, but is there any song that stands out to you in particular as being one of your favorites, or is that kind of like picking a favorite child? Like just can't do it?
No, that's a fair question. It varies. Like, you know, our plan is always to release better and better music, and
Yeah.
you know, I think for me personally, the last single we released, I Want to Say, has been our best so far, in terms of production, collaboration,
Okay.
songwriting, everything, you know. But I know that our next singles that we're going to release are even better again. So, you know, it's great to have that though, because when we play our set live, you know, we love playing our set. It's not like we're playing a song in between two songs that we're just like, oh, I hate this song, but we have to play it anyway. So it's hard to pick a favorite, but I would say right now, Want It All to Stay would be my top one.
So it's kind of, you know, it's kind of going back to what you said about, you know, stepping stones, kind of a means to an end, if, you know, always improving. So you'd be inclined to say that, so basically, would it be safe to say that you kind of look to past tracks to kind of say like, okay, this is what was good, this is what could be changed, and kind of use that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think naturally that happens as well as a musician, as a songwriter. You know, you keep going forward and you keep developing, you learn as you go, and you learn what works and what doesn't, and what resonates as well, and what connects with people.
Yeah. Do you think that your style has changed much overall? I know that you said the kind of synth influence
Yeah.
has come in more later on, but aside from that, do you think that there's been any kind of unconscious kind of change in the style ever since starting the band, coming to where you are right now?
Yeah, I would say the earlier sound was more acoustic based,
Yeah.
and you know, naturally, like as I was saying, we've just developed that as musicians and songwriters over the last 3 years, and obviously with members changing in the lineup, that's only been a good thing in terms of bringing fresh life into it and fresh sounds and influences. So it has changed a good bit, yeah. For the better, though, definitely.
Yeah, okay. So tell me about playing your set and playing gigs. Where have you played, and has there been any
Yeah,
kind of particular highlights?
Well, their Lost Lane last July was great. That was our biggest headline show to date.
Okay.
And that's a big venue, and we took a gamble on it, but we did it with enough time where we could promote it right. We could guarantee that we could sell enough tickets, and it's a great venue in Dublin. I'd highly recommend it to any bands who are looking to put on a proper show.
Yeah.
Great team in there as well. And this time last year was a relatively new playing at that stage, you know, so we were very happy that we were able to book it and put it on. And yeah, in our eyes, it was a success. We had a lot more gigs coming up in middle of March onwards this year, just gone like 2 months ago.
Okay.
So we were like, they were going to trump that. They were going to be well ahead of anything we'd done before, and we were very excited about those leading up to a couple of the festivals in the summer. So hopefully we can get their move to another date. Like, there was a great support slot with an English band called Alexis Kings that had to be pulled.
All right.
And there was a date in the Button Factory with the Sound Training Centre Searchlight team, and that was going to be another big gig. So there was little gigs in between, but those two would have really been something special for us, just the way we were moving, you know.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to getting back to that at some stage, you know.
Definitely. Do you think that it's a big task? Do you think it's a lot of work to really all the stuff that goes into setting up like a headline gig like that? Do you think that there's a lot that goes into it?
I think there's a lot more than people outside the industry or people who haven't done it yet don't realize.
Yeah.
Like even down to designing a poster or a flyer, getting those out, doing the matching everything online branding wise. So like all the imagery is the same across the board for your online events, setting scene for the ticket, and even can be a headache because you're figuring out, right, there's tax on that. You know, there's just loads of intricacies, booking support slots, getting the right bands in, doing promotional things. Like it's all great for the greater good, and it's exciting. And you're always trying to find what angle can we push here to get the right promotion and get the right reviews. Say, you know, you want to push it out there to the bloggers and journalists and things like that, and hopefully they'll pick it up and spread the word. But there's loads involved in a gig. And then, like, you know, there's the other things that go without saying, like, you know, your rehearsals, like the core thing. You have to be sure you got the right set and you got new music in, and you're pushing your best live show and getting a lighting engineer. Do you want to do that? Do you have the right sound engineer? Is it the right venue? Will you fill it? So it's all part of the learning process, though, you know. Which is a great thing. You keep going. You do better than the last one. You learn from any mistakes or any positives, and you take those with you into the next.
Yeah, and you mentioned there that a lot. You mentioned there a lot of stuff that you mentioned is very much in like the business and the PR kind of side of things. Do you think that there's like difficult work to do in that area?
There is, but if you have, like, if you're looking after yourself as a band, if you have a couple of people in the band or all four of you who are knowledgeable and who have had experience before, that can help a lot. Well, and there's a lot of people you can go to a lot of good seminars that IMRO do, First Music Contact do, Ireland Music Week do, that just give you like the basic stuff to get you started.
Okay.
Things like that really help. Just there's common sense comes into it as well, you know.
Yeah. So it must have been very disheartening then. Suppose the timing of it all. You were saying from about March onwards. So how did you kind of react then to what started happening around that time?
It was in stages at that stage where I think it was Wednesday, the 11th of March. We had been in the Button Factory because they like to do the sound, what do you call it, the sound checks the week before the gig to get everything lined up.
Yeah.
So we'd gone in and played to the empty venue, but everything was sounding great. We're delighted with that. But that's when things started to kick off. I think the next day after that, it was like, okay, the show's cancelled. And then I think Electric Picnic cancelled after that. Or Ruby Sessions pulled their Tuesday night, and then people started following suit. So it was kind of clear what was coming. And then the festival started pulling dates, and then I was like, okay, right, everything's getting pulled. The date we had in March, the support slot with Alexis Kings, was pulled then. So it was taking it in stages, but then it became an eventuality where you just accept it. Like, there's no point fighting or being angry at it. You know what I mean? It's out of our control. It's great to see, though, like, people are starting to think of ways on live entertainment. So there is hope.
And will you be kind of looking at any kind of alternative ways of, you know, performing? You know, a lot of people have done stuff like live streams and stuff. Is that something that you're interested in?
Definitely. I think what we're going to do is we're writing new music now anyway.
Yeah.
And we're focused on getting those 2 songs finished and looking at doing a video or 2 for those. Then after that, we'll be getting back into our own studio base. Up for recording and filming purposes, whether that's like 360 filming, VR filming, or something like that. That'll be our plan initially, and that should bring us up to the end of the summer. Hopefully by then there's a clearer picture and a clearer path of what music venues can do, and festivals can do and things like that. I do know that we have a date that has been rebooked for the 5th of December in Lost Lane.
Okay.
Exciting to have something to work towards and look towards, but again, until we get into September, October, we don't know how those things will play out yet.
So it's kind of hard to say anything for certain, really.
It is, yeah. It's the thing of like, we could book a date now, and like we had a date in Whelans for July 10th that we've had to cancel, but we could rebook that for November. But we're sitting here going, right, is it worth doing right now? Is it worth promoting it right now without knowing whether or not accommodate live gigs again like that,
Yeah.
And whether it's worthwhile is the big thing.
Yeah, so definitely.
It's a bit all over the place still. There's clearer paths coming. People are trying things out, which is great, and people are starting to make some moves. But
so definitely kind of an uncertain picture overall.
Yeah.
So I suppose kind of on a more personal note, how have you been spending the time? What's been different for you ever since everyone has been told to stay home, basically?
Yeah, mainly, working from home. I do graphic designs as well.
Okay.
Primarily for the music industry. So I've been doing that from home. I haven't played drums in about 3 months, which I think is the longest I've gone. Other than that, like, it's been okay. I live close to the city centre here, so there's kind of activity around, things like that. It hasn't been too much days, where you feel just like, what is going on? There's moments where you think, especially for the music industry, what is going to happen here? Like, like you're hoping this will come out of it, but then I think, look, everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah.
There's a positive there, is that try not to stress too much, and I try and think, look, everyone's trying to figure it out as well. As tough as it is, we will get through it. But generally, like, it's been okay from home. It's gone quick as well, I have to say. When I think back to the start of April, I was thinking things would be okay by Easter, and then Easter came and it's another lockdown. So like, when I look at the timeline, it's gone quick.
Okay. That's something I can definitely agree with. You know what I mean? At first things seemed like, the weeks went by very slowly, but ever since like Easter, it's all gone. We're just kind of used to it at this stage. You know what I mean?
That's it. Like, it's funny because I remember looking at Italy and it was complete lockdown, and I was like, sure, we won't be doing that. And 2 weeks later, there you go.
Yeah. So I suppose obviously the picture is a bit uncertain at the minute, but speaking for yourselves, what are your kind of medium to long-term goals for the band? Is there anything in particular that stands out to you as something that you really want to achieve in the next, like, few years even?
Yeah, a few years. Having weathered this storm, we'll get our next singles out, and hopefully that'll give us some proper traction. I think there's two of our strongest singles yet, and I know we have a bunch of other songs we are itching to record properly.
Yeah.
And those songs are even better again. So really looking forward to getting those out. Down the line, I'm hoping we can, like this time next year, I'm hoping things are back to some sort of normality where festivals are going again, and there's, good support slots with bigger bands coming into Dublin or not. I just think we keep building on what we've developed so far.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, thanks very much.
Cheers, Dan.
So we're just about out of time, but just before we go, where can people find you on social media and all that?
Yeah, best place is runin.red. That's our website.
Okay.
And that's got everything there. But if you just type in Run, everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Twitter.
All right, well, brilliant.
All the usuals.
All right, well, this has been Paul from Running Red. Thanks very much for coming on, Paul.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes, bye.